where, for example, paedophiles are saying that we should be allowed to have dolls, sex dolls, that are children. Now think about that.
Yeah.
Now, from a purely secular, liberal, materialistic, foundational belief, how are you going to argue that that's wrong?
I suppose
Very difficult.
The thing is, because as you've just said, it's a grey area because it's obviously it's not a person, it's not a physical, it's not a sentient being.
Right.
Shall we say. So obviously there's that aspect, which means, in theory, there's no harm being done. But then you need to look at, I suppose, the context of what's behind that and why the person thinks, that is, I suppose, okay.
Yeah.
So it's a hard one.
And that's what I'm trying to explain to you.
Yeah.
So morality is very difficult
Yes.
to anchor to anything when it's purely based upon materialism or social consensus.
Yes.
So, for example, what was the other issue? The issue was incest, for example. Let's say a father who's sterile
Right.
wants to marry his daughter.
Right.
Now, most of us would have an internal icky
An issue.
concept,
Yeah.
even if we weren't religious.
Yes.
We
Yeah.
say, look, that's just, your best mate, if she was a woman, she said, I'm marrying my dad.
Yeah.
You'd think, what's
There's
going
something
on
going
there,
on there,
right?
yeah.
That's not quite right. And from a harm perspective, he's sterile, and she's willing, and he's willing. How would you be able to say, look, that's not morally right to
Again,
do?
it's also, again, you're right. It's the moral opinion. That is completely crossing a line, but it's not my family. I can only give my opinion. I can only say, we'll say Georgia. I can only say Georgia. That is completely the wrong.
By the way,
thing
you're
to
just
do.
making up a name here,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
I'm just making
So
up a name.
we're not going to
Just making up a
That's
name.
not me. No, that's not me.
Just
No.
making up a name.
I'm just saying that, we're not going to. Some Georgia's going to
No,
call.
no.
Say,
So some random. Why have you said my name?
yeah.
Yeah, so just but I can't do any more than that. I can't give my my view. I can't give my opinion.
But do you see the limitations that we have now with morality?
Yes, yeah.
So, how would we then attribute certainty when it comes to morality? And I believe that the only way to do that is that you'll have to go to the Creator. And even if through your intellect and your reason, you may not be able to explain something to be bad or good, because it's very difficult, right? Because these are very, very grey areas from a materialistic point of view.
Right.
Other than they feel bad, yeah? You'd have to turn to the Creator, because Allah says this is forbidden.
Right.
You can't marry your aunt, you can't marry your uncle, you can't marry your daughter, you can't marry your son.
Yes.
All of these things are stipulated. And so Allah has made them haram, forbidden.
Yes.
So now, you might have certain cultures who will say, well, actually, and there are, by the way, some European countries talking about the rights of people to have intimacy with family members if they want to.
Right.
A brother and a sister, for example.
Okay.
Right? And I believe that the only way that you can, with any certainty, with any firm anchor, say, look, that's beyond the lines.
Yes. Yeah.
That's wrong morally. I think is you have to turn to God. You have to turn to religion.
I see. Okay.
And there's no other way to. And so, but what I would hope from you and sister, from you as well, is that, look, it's very easy for me to make claims.
Yes.
I can claim the Quran is this, Islam is this. You may have your own perception, and of course, we all have our baggage. Okay. Because we see things on the media, we read something, we perceive something. This is my friend Imran, actually. I'm having a lovely discussion with brother Jacob. It's a really lovely discussion. He's also a doctor, so if you need any medical advice, I'm just joking. So,
Put me in it now.
sorry. So what I would say to you, my brother and my sister, is this: it's very easy for me to stand here and make grand claims.
Yes. Yeah.
But Allah has given you the faculty to reason and the intelligence.
Yes.
And a great deal of that, I believe, should be spent in the pursuit of finding out whether there is truth to these people who were coming down periodically throughout history,
Yes.
claiming to be sent by the Creator,
Okay.
and then being given revelation as a guidance to humanity, or whether there's any truth or reason or credence to follow those guidances.
Right.
And I would hope that you would look at the Quran objectively, right? As objectively as you can. Analyze it for yourself.
Right. Okay.
Analyze the claims. What is it saying? Why should I believe it?
Yes.
What are the reasons as to the claim within it of it being a miracle? Can I substantiate any of those claims in any way?
Yes. Yeah.
And after using your reason and your investigation, if you're convinced, accept it. And if you're not convinced, then that's a matter between you and God. You've at least given it a balanced view and a fair reading, a fair analysis. And that's all we ask people to do here. It's not about being a car salesman and just trying to sell you a dodgy car, right?
Yeah.
It's about saying, look, here's the car, test drive it. Get your mechanic, have him to look at it.
I see.
Do a full inspection on it.
Okay.
Keep it for a year if you want to. And if you're happy with it, then come and pay me.
That's a really interesting take on it.
And for us, it's not a hard sell.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we believe that Islam is the truth. We believe it's haqq. We believe that anyone that comes to it with an open mind and an open heart will accept it. And in fact, what we find, I think it was the Murray poll or the Gallup poll, they found that the fastest growing religion, even in the West, amongst postgraduates, average age of 27, 71 or 72% women, was they were accepting Islam. And the average time they were spending was around 7 years in studying comparative religion. So these were educated people who clearly did their investigation and their studies,
Yes.
and they found something in Islam they found nowhere else.
I've really enjoyed our
So
conversation.
yeah,
Abbas.
so I'd love to give you. I don't know if we've got any free Qurans,
Anything,
but please do.
I'll happily take it.
We've got. Let's see, any of the brothers got free Qurans? We'll see. We didn't bring them today. Oh,
Have you got a leaflet or anything?
we have cards. I'll give you a
Yeah,
card,
I'll take
and
a
we've
card.
got a YouTube channel.
Okay.
We do live streams as well.
Yes.
If you'd prefer not to have your picture on the camera,
I'm not bothered. It's fine.
I'm just saying you can come on without your camera.
Yeah, yeah.
And we can have a further chat. But there's lots of resources on our website as well. Anis will give you the details there. And if you visit our channel, email us. There are also two organizations that I would recommend.
Right.
The first is Sapiens Institute.
Right.
There's a book written by a convert who was a Greek convert named Hamza Zorsis.
Right.
And it's called The Divine Reality.
Yeah.
And you can download that for free, or you
Yes.
can have, there's a whole series of it on YouTube as well as a podcast, you can hear it.
Okay.
And I really recommend that book, it's quite a good book
Yeah.
actually.
Okay. Lovely.
But Anis will write that. Anis, if you could just write the Divine Reality, Hamza Zorsis, and then the brother can maybe have access to that as well.
Is that your position at the moment, guys? Are you,
Say that again. Sorry.
what's your position in terms
I was explaining to Abbas that I feel at the moment I'm an atheist, but I've really enjoyed this discussion. I feel it's been so interesting hearing, because like I said, I don't speak to my friends very often at the moment, you know, but it's been so interesting hearing, I suppose, what drives you and what you have faith in. You know, it's very interesting.
You know what it is, Jacob? I mean, being born here, Dr. Imran being born here, you know, we went through Western education, Western life. Many of us questioned. My parents are Muslim.
Thank you very much.
You know, my parents are Muslim. Why should I be Muslim? You know, because science seems to have all the answers,
Right.
etc., etc., etc. And we went through these, you could call them crises, or you could call them just times in our life when we questioned lots of things. And most of us that I speak to, especially those who are actually speaking to others about Islam,
Yes.
went through that journey themselves. And they asked those questions, they investigated, they really scrutinized. And it was based upon reason and evidence. That's what I always say.
Okay.
It's not just wishy-washy thinking like, oh, it makes me feel good, or I had a vision,
Yeah. Yeah.
I saw something and I felt something. You know, yeah, okay, fine, seeing, feeling it. Everyone can claim that, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, even a person who has mental illness might say they saw lots of visions and heard lots of voices, right?
Yeah,
It doesn't mean that that's the truth, right? So Allah says something very, very interesting in the Quran. You know, Allah says, if they speak the truth, bring your evidence against the Quran, against Islam.
Right.
So it's about evidence. That here's our evidence. These are the reasons why we believe it. you provide your counter evidence. And because when a person